What on earth is that? It's a Journey into Comics Network production! All aboard!
I brought my pencil.
What do you wanna do with your life?
Walk on home, boy. Yeah.
Like anything gets to say like you did before. Make it green, make it bleed, make it really so.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Rank 'Em All, the collaborative podcast across the Journey into Comics Network. It's the show where we have a few panelists, in this case 4. We sit down and we go through an entire artist or band's discography, and we rank all them sumbitches. So what we're going to do here today, we have chosen Metallica, and we're going to start at the very beginning, at the namesake, Kill 'Em All, and go all the way down. Now, all today, we're just going to do Kill 'Em All for this little iteration. But today's panelists, I am one of your panelists, Brando, and we're just going to go down, I believe, over here. It just depends on how this all works out for everybody. But to my, I guess, left, to you guys, I don't know how this. Nate's another panelist is what I'm getting at.
What's up, guys? How's everybody doing today? I'm really excited to be doing rank them all. I said them all. I don't know why.
Yeah,
I
you did.
that,
you
but,
messed it up already.
Damn, that was quick.
That's my MO, you guys. But also joining us today, Brando, the Overlord of Doom, Nick Maxon. Welcome back, my friend, or welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, inviting me, letting me be a part of it. I'm excited. Metallica is one of my favorites.
Absolutely.
Pitter-patter.
Absolutely. And Nate, I liked how you welcomed him back to the very first episode of Rank 'Em All. That's really awesome. Really great. Really great. So you're starting out this podcast with a bang.
I never left.
He's been ranking them since the beginning. Also, the host of Podcastrophe, the donger of dongs,
Dong father.
the dong father,
The Dongalist.
Dr. Dongo, DDS, PhD, OBGYN.
Is he Dongalicious?
Oh my God.
Ew.
Yeah, you went
Oh,
there.
Gross.
Yeah, I
Doesn't
don't know.
work.
I'm gonna have to stop you there, Nate.
Yeah, that might. Yeah, yo,
What
this
is
joke's been going on for a while, but we might be going a bit too far.
What is?
Dude, it's going pretty good. I hope this episode finds all you guys good. Whenever this comes out, because we're not releasing these episodes until it's all done. So by the time this show is ready to come out, the world may no longer be. We don't know.
That is true.
We'll leave these for those who come next.
Exactly. for those who come next, who if like we can't find these Metallica records, we'll just tell you how good they are. So
Yeah.
Could have sent them on the next gold discs that go out on Voyager 3 and 4.
exactly. And maybe a couple of these albums were on that gold disc. But how we're going to do this, guys, we're going to go down the song titles, the track list for every single one, and we are going to rank each individual song. I already have an algorithm put in to whenever I give a song a 9 or a 10 or whatever, at the end it's going to average them all up, and that's going to be our album rank. So we're each going to have an individual album rank, but of course we need to have a master rank. I felt like that was no other
Master!
So that's going to average all of our averaged ranks, and it's going to, it should be pretty similar. But the reason for that is that, I might love this album. Nick might not like it that much. Dick might hate it, and Nate thinks it's the best album of all time. So therefore, that's how we're going to, average this out. And for funsies, we're going to figure out and average out all the individual song averages, scores, ranks, whatever, as we go along as well.
We're going to thoroughly rank these.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Thoroughly.
When the name was conceived, Rank 'Em All, I was holding no bones, man. I was holding nothing back. We're going to rank each and every one of these. And so we're going to go right down the discography. We're going to do all the studio albums. We are going to do S&M when we get there. We are going to do Garage Inc., but those are going to have a little asterisk next to it. The reason why I thought S&M would be cool is that, it's got a few songs that aren't on the actual album or in any other albums. And also, there might be songs that we rate higher or lower depending on how well they gel with the symphony. Which I already know there's a couple of them that I already like. Yeah, the symphony helps make this song even better.
Absolutely. One thing I also want to mention before we get too far along in this is that once we've done all the albums, we will have a wrap-up show for Metallica where we will officially reveal where things ranked.
Sure.
Is Kill 'Em All the 4th best album they put out, and Masters the greatest album of all time? And for some reason, we still rank Saint Anger at the dead last. I don't see that happening, but who knows? Who knows where we're going to go with this? Because
It's still there.
as
We've got some ideas. That's where it'll
Oh,
end up.
yeah,
Don't know
but
why.
I don't know. I think this is the most interesting way to do this, though, because as Brandon said, 4 different opinions, 4 different viewpoints. We're kind of the big 4 of this show, which I love. That's a little thrash reference there. I guess that makes me. I guess I'm Slayer. No, I don't want to be Slayer. I guess I'm Anthrax. Ugh.
Oh, let's not do that. Let's not
Okay,
get into
no.
that argument.
Yeah, let's not.
That
Yeah,
could
we're
be
not
a
gonna figure
whole-
that out.
What we can
Bullshit. That's
say
a whole
for
other
sure,
show.
though, is that Dick shared something on Facebook today about a memory he had from like
Oh,
9, 10,
man.
11 years ago talking
I
about.
shared that for the sheer cringe of like who I was as a person at the age of 18.
No, you were a piece of shit. But
Oh, I was like, holy shit, I wrote that. Oh my god, it was so.
what was it? Let's hear it.
Okay, man.
right on the gate.
Accountability. Got to
It's-
read it live on the show.
Yeah, let's get at it.
Find it. Let me find. Okay, so to preface this, this is what I share. This is the tagline I shared it with. Jesus, why was I like this? So July 6, 2009, I wrote another reason to hate mega shit. They have a song with a French name, A Tout Le Monde. You know what that translates into? Mega shit sucks and uses gay French names. That was me.
Hey, well, you've grown as a person.
I have. Like, wow. And then the first comment, who hurt you? That song is decent.
Both versions of that song is decent.
I love that song. I seriously like that song. I don't know what my deal was.
That's about as close as Megadeth can actually get to an actual like ballad, because Dave just doesn't have the voice for like a true love song ballad. They just, I like.
I thought you were
Megadeth.
going to say it's as close as Megadeth was going to get to being in conversation with Metallica on our podcast.
Well,
was
no.
his reference.
No, actually, Mustaine's going to be
Oh, he's
referenced
coming up.
on this album quite a bit.
Yeah.
So what we're gonna do, guys, we're gonna go ahead and get her started. I'm gonna just fill out just a little bit of info about the album. It was released in 1983 and July 25th, 1983. So we are nearing an anniversary for this album. As we record this, we're in the beginning of July of 2020, the year of
37 years, huh?
year of our apocalypse, and. So this album, so the band was comprised of James Hetfield, Lars Ulrich, Dave Mustaine, and Cliff Burton, and they recorded the demo "No Life Till Leather." It got them noticed. Eventually, signed by Megaforce Records, all the way in New York. So they had to like pack their stuff up in U-Haul, and they played shows across the country, getting their way to New York to record their debut album. When they got there, they realized Dave Mustaine's kind of an angry drunk and gets in fights a lot, and he's not gelling with us anymore. So they literally got there and sent him back home on a Greyhound bus. Like, we bought you a ticket, bye. And of course that became a point of contention for Dave Mustaine, and well, one of the reasons why he formed Megadeth was to
For decades to come.
yeah, like to just get back at Metallica, because Dave is a very important part of the early days of Metallica. He really was, and they brought in the Exodus lead guitar player Kirk Hammett to try him out, and he ended up working out, and so
Really?
yeah, he's still there.
He got in there and he got on that wah pedal and never left.
Well, the wah pedal is something that he found a little bit later.
Yeah, you're right.
But no, so the Hammett doesn't have any
Probably
writing
had.
credits.
He probably had it. He just finally turned it on a couple hours.
Oh, hey, there we go. He's like, well, because we all
What's
know
his pedal do?
well, we all know what happened to Cliff, and Kirk happened to find it. He's like, wow, hey, hey, I can make cool
Wait a
noises
minute.
too. So yeah, no, Kirk Hammett has no writing credit on the album, and won't until the next album, because he came in and just he redid all of Dave's leads essentially. And even one song got renamed entirely, the Four Horsemen. It was originally called The Mechanics, and the lyrics were by Dave. So they stripped away some of what Dave had brought to the band, but as you can see with writing credits, there's still enough of Dave here, and even on the next album. But my friends, with that being said, are you ready to start it off with the very first song off the very first album?
I'm ready to hit the lights.
It is called Hit the Lights, with having writing credits towards James Hetfield and Lars Ulrich. Hit the Lights, debut album opener. Man, where do we start? Who should go first here? with their thoughts. Dick, by all means, he put his hand up.
So, I noticed something like just right off the bat in the first 10, 15 seconds of it, because it's kind of fading in.
Yeah.
Fading in, you're hearing. I'm guessing cymbals is what you're hearing, and it's just fading, and then like they did not. Whoever recorded this did not like fade it super smooth because it like it's like they like accidentally slipped at one point and it just went up just to it's barely noticeable, but if you're really listening, it just jumps in volume instead of smoothly going into it. But yeah,
it was a little jarring. Like,
Yeah.
whoa.
Yeah, that's my thoughts.
I think that that's your only thoughts on the song is that it has a weird fade.
Yeah, I mean that's yeah, sure.
Nate's face.
Okay, so I'm gonna start with a little bit of my notes. I think that this song absolutely hits really hard as an opening track, like a statement. Every band wants to make a statement. The first thing you hear should hook you. They successfully do that. Hit the lights, boom, it's a win. I love the interlude in the middle of the song. It actually strips away a lot of the drums. I think it's almost just like toms maybe, but again, something that really hooks me with the song. And then of course the minimalism jumps back into this just thrash unleashed vibe where they're going crazy. The solo at the end is blazing fast and they're absolutely giving it their all. And I feel like it's like, I don't know if they one-taked that and they had practiced it a lot, but God, it has the vibe and the energy that they were just in it together making that song. And ultimately, just to get it out of the way, I ranked this as a 7.75. I think it's a very strong opening track for this band. And obviously it leaves a lot of jumping space for what is defined as a 10, what is defined as, a 4, I guess. I don't know that I'll have a 4, but maybe we'll see.
Well, that's cool. Nick, why don't you go hit it up next?
So I'm gonna preface this all, and this is gonna be a little shocking. I'm not listened to this album a whole lot.
Awesome.
It was only once we started talking about it that I'm like, I need to go back through and actually give you some hard listens. So I don't have a whole terrible lot to say. I gave it a 7 because like Nate was saying, it's a good opener. I love the fade in. I like a good fade in before just really kicking your ass. You got that blistering guitar solo, so it gives you a great idea of what to expect with the rest of the album. So I don't know if it's the extra mile, because I definitely wouldn't say I put in a whole hell of a lot of effort. But I ranked the songs on the album 1 out of as a how much I liked them. So I gave it a 7 rating in terms of overall song, but on the album it landed at number 6 for me.
Cool.
Awesome.
Cool.
Okay.
So of course this was the first song the band ever wrote before they even had any other members. Like it was James Hetfield, Lars, and maybe they had Lloyd Grant. I don't know. I know maybe Ron McGovney was around, but this song was written for the Metal Massacre sampler disc, and that was the first ever version of that recording. Then I don't know if they ever re-recorded that for the No Life to Leather demo, but this is the re-recording for Kill 'Em All. I feel, and you're going to hear me say this a lot in this album, because Dick's already brought up a little bit of like the production side. It's very noticeable this album was not made with a lot of money. Very noticeable. And
It still sounds great though.
oh no, that's just what I was getting ready to say. This album, if had the same money and production quality of the Black Album, would kill sonically. It would kill. But honestly, part of what makes this album unique in itself is part to in how raw it is. These are just 4 dudes trying to make a go of it. They have no money whatsoever, and they were able to make this album. And honestly, a lot of these songs most of them were already written. That's what they went in the studio. They hammered it out over like a week or so. I believe it said that the recording date was May. Yeah, May 10th to the 27th is how long it took them to record this album. So these songs were already cooking for them. Hit the Lights. In the part that I said that you're going to hear me say it again a couple times. The album gets close to the same kind of vibe you would get from them live, but not quite. You can kind of tell it's some of the attitude is gone from it, and if you see Metallica videos live from them back then, you'll with any band, you'll see they're going to play harder, they're going to play faster, and then they go to do the album. They're like, okay, we got to be serious now, guys. We got okay, we've got to play this song and get it right. And someone's like, that's out of time. He's like, whatever. I kind of feel that for this album, and for some other albums, I don't necessarily get that vibe. But for this one, I kind of like feel like for their first one, they were definitely like, okay, come on, we got to get these songs right. We played these songs, right? And it's almost like maybe they were a little bit more tight with it. You know, they were tight, but maybe the looseness will come over time. Hit the Lights. It's pretty ironic. I also rated this a 7.
Yep, that's where I'm at.
7.
7 across the board.
Yeah.
Well, I said 7.75. It's closer to an 8 for me because I think I have a little more of a personal love for this album. Because it's really weird, you know, my finding Metallica, and Brandon kind of knows this a little bit. I got the Black Album first as like my real push introduction to like listen. And then immediately said, I need to go back to the very beginning and learn about this band. So I went through the discography in order, and really Kill 'Em All being so tonally different than what the Black Album ends up being really hooked me, and really had a lasting impression on a 16-year-old version of myself that's still in here somewhere, I think.
It's in there.
Right on. So with that being said, the overall song average is a 7.18. It's pretty close to being 7s across the board. Next song, The Four Horsemen, and of course, this, as I said, this song was also called The Mechanics at one point with much different lyrics, and also a little bit of a composition change between the songs as well. This song has writing credits for Hetfield, Ulrich, and Mustaine. What do you guys think about The Four Horsemen? Dick went first last time. We'll go Nick first this time.
It is my I gave it an 8, 2 overall.
Awesome.
So second favorite track on the album. It's one of those that I really did not really remember that much until this more recently going back to it. I don't really know what else to say. It's totally badass. I love the vocals on it a lot. And I just love a good guitar solo, and they just come out so hard, just shoving it right in your face.
Absolutely.
Nate, what do you think, man?
This song is thrash with a big groove. Like, it's still thrashy, as to where when you listen to the Mechanics, I know at some point we'll probably rank all the Megadeth songs and whatnot eventually, but like the Mechanics is totally a different feel than what this song is, and this has more groove. It's the differential between thrash and groove. This is like the first time Metallica says, hey, some point we're going to do an album called Load. Don't be surprised if we get, really groovy on it. And that's the real deal. This is their first real epic.
Oilers.
And I mean, as far as compositionally, lyrically, this song has more to say in it about things that are maybe bigger picture than the rest of the album. That's more about living the life of metal and fast and thrashy and just living the teenage lifestyle those guys were living. The Sweet Home Alabama interlude is hands down my favorite stolen riff in the history of the Metallica catalog. Like, they don't do it for a long time. It's just like boom, boom, bam, and then they change it going into that amazing, like, just emotionally gut punching solo. It's perfectly executed. This song for me, an 8.5, not too far off of where Nick said. Yeah.
So the bridge, so that riff that you were talking about, some stories vary, but from what I understand, it kind of got inspired because Cliff would play Sweet Home Alabama a lot, like on the acoustic guitar. He would just like sit there over and over again. God damn it,
Cliff.
Yeah, Cliff was
a bus accident.
Yeah. Cliff had he had a very eclectic music taste, and it really does shine off in his penmanship, which he doesn't get on this song. But the Mechanics was about having sex at a gas station. This song is about the apocalypse, and it's also the first sort. It's a little bit of a tone
Course
shift.
change.
But
Hard to see why they kicked him out.
well, there's Dave. Like, I'm a sexy mechanic. Okay.
Dave, you really got to work on your lyrics.
Just stock. I just think it's stock, man. Um, so this song is actually the first indicator that Metallica is an anti-war band, because they actually changed the name of one of the Four Horsemen. Because you have famine, pestilence, and then
It's supposed to be war
war, but they changed it from war
to time.
to time. So it's very interesting, a little small thing, and is something that we'll see also in other war-related topics for song stuff later on as well from the band as we go down the discography. This song, as Nate said, this song's an epic, and it's track 2, and it almost sets the tone for what would be like the next 4 albums coming into the second track. Even though this album's not called the Four Horsemen, if it wasn't called Kill 'Em All, it easily could be to fit in with the theme of the rest of them.
Where the second track is their title track.
Yeah. I mean, this song kicks. I gave it a 9. I thoroughly enjoyed this song. This song kicks live so much. And as Nate said, this album, it's mostly in one direction, and that's thrash. This is one of those songs that kind of deviates. It's not as fast as the rest of the album, but it does so to its favor. So, Nate, what did you give the song? Did you
8.5?
8.5. I
think that Mr. Dongo is last up.
Yep, he is last.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this an 8. There's not much I can say about the song that you guys haven't already. It fucking jams. I really love that intro riff, the doon 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 doon, and it since this was like my first true listen through of this album.
Yeah.
So at least my first true listen through since 2009 me, where I made
Mega
shitty
shit. Yeah.
status.
Yeah. Hot takes.
So like obviously I've changed as a person. My musical taste has changed a lot. So what was cool about this listen through is I was hearing a lot of shit that I had heard before, and I was like, I started recognizing it from other things I had heard it in. Like I recognized that riff, the doon 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 doon. I was like, holy shit, I've heard that before. And then of course I was working out, so it just got me super pumped. And yeah, I dig Four Horsemen. It's probably, barring the singles, it's probably my second or third favorite on the album.
Right on, right on. Up next is Motorbreath, which was written by Hetfield. He's the only person with a writing credit on here, even though there's a disputed claim for Dave Mustaine, and he even has a song later on in their discography that is kind of based off this song.
Vortex, right? Or it's something on that album. It's something off of Cryptic. I know. FFF. Yep.
Okay, so basically, it's claimed that Hetfield, this came from his days in Leather Charm, and it's very simple. But also note that Hetfield downpicks this entire song. Oh, dude, Hetfield has like this power downstroke that not many guitar players can match. Like some of those riffs, when you think about it, like, man, that's pretty challenging. And now just think about it. Hetfield does not do very much alternate picking at all. He's a downstroke motherfucker. So,
you would think he would just have a massive right forearm.
Quagmire. Finding porn on the internet. Oh.
So, this song, honestly, I thought it was going to rate a little higher when I listened to it, because I used to love jamming to this in the car, which, should I say, that I don't really think there's any really bad song on here. It's just things that I enjoy more than I enjoy others. I gave this song a 7. So, Nate, we'll go you next.
Here are my notes. This is the littlest notes in the entirety of what we've been doing so far. In one small line, simple but brutal thrash, full speed or nothing. I gave this a 7.5.
Full speed or nothing?
It is very to the point. It does what it needs to do. It is thrash unleashed. And, it is a jam, but it is not my favorite jam on this album, which we'll get to later.
Yep. So what do you give it, Nate, as we move on?
I said a 7.5.
Oh, sorry. I missed that.
It's okay.
I didn't catch that.
No worries.
Dick will hit you next. What do you guys say, man?
I'm gonna have to get it a 6.5. I don't really remember it very well, but after Nate's description, it's like, yeah, that's probably how I'd put it. It's just a good jam. It's heavy.
Yep.
It's exactly what I would expect from Hetfield's writing. I have always wanted Hetfield to do a solo album, but it would just be Metallica. I've always wanted Hetfield to do a solo album because I feel like he's got some mean riffs. I love his riff style. I love, like, it's not overly complicated, but it's just mean.
Like back then, it would be different than maybe Hetfield now. Hetfield now doing a solo record would probably come across as more like a kind of an outlaw rock country type deal.
I was totally into that. Like, and I get this from watching Some Kind of Monster, watching him come up with riffs in the practice space and all that. I'm like, ooh, yeah.
That's exactly what he's thinking too. He's like, yeah.
Ooh.
That took a while. I'm surprised it took us that long to do the Hetfield.
We got a couple songs in before we had a typical one. What's funny is that through my listening of some of the stuff, in my re-listens and in my ranking, I'm already on like reload, right? And so, but like every once in a while, like a song on random will come up, and there was a song in Metallica songs where the word "yeah" is a very prominent part of the song.
Yeah,
and he says it a lot, and then at the very end of the song, because it was a live thing, the first thing he says was "yeah."
Doesn't remember the yeah and ooh compilation?
Yeah,
it's every single yeah and ooh James Hetfield does, and it's like a 5 minutes song, and it's like yeah.
Hundreds.
ooh.
Don't forget, ooh, yeah.
Yeah,
get that one in there.
He gets
where
a little
it's
crazy,
double
and
now.
he kind of combines the two. Nick, man, what do you guys say about this short little thrash track?
It didn't leave a huge impression on me. It wasn't a bad song by any means.
Yep.
Just kind of, especially after the first two tracks, just kind of thought, I don't want to. Okay, I like it. It's not a bad song, but it felt almost like filler. I guess it just wasn't my style. I gave it a 6.5, and it came a 9 out of 10 on the album for me. So, yeah, just didn't really stick out a whole lot to me, but it's still good. Still a jammer.
Yeah, exactly. You know, there's when you think about like their live set at the time, that's a song that I've enjoyed every time that they played it and they pull it out. I was like, oh, cool, Motorbreath, you know? But then it's like, I'm not like super like, oh my gosh, they're actually playing whatever, you know? You're not going to get that reaction on me from Motorbreath. But the next song is Jump in the Fire, technically a single from this record. When I say technically, it is a single released in January of '84. And I want to say it was because they were doing some tour thing and they were opening up for Twisted Sister. They were going with Twisted Sister supporting Venom on their tour, and it was it was sponsored by Metallica's UK's album distributor. So they made the Jump in the Fire EP for that, and so you could go and pick that up at the shows.
Whoa, cool.
So Jump in the Fire, guys. I guess I'll go first on this one. This has writing credits from Lars, James, and Dave Mustaine. I gotta say, this is probably, looking back on it, one of my least favorite tracks on the album. And
10 out of 10 from mine. It was bottom of the pile.
It doesn't hit me. I remember listening to it as a kid, thinking, "Yeah, jump in the fire," you know. I even had a Jump in the Fire shirt because the album art for the EP is like big old Satan monster. Is like, it looks badass.
Fucking awesome, yeah.
But my overall impression of it was just lackluster, especially compared to some of the stuff here that's on the album. And if I dare say it, I don't think this is what they were going for. So please don't mistake this. I kind of feel like they were, when they were writing this song, were trying to find that blend between what they were doing and something a little bit more palatable, mainstream.
Yeah.
You know, well, like maybe a little bit more laid back. You know, like we had that with the Four Horsemen, but this one is just even more so. I don't want to say like this is like them trying to be AC/DC, but in a way, it's kind of it seems simplified compared to similar stuff I hear on the album. I gave it a 6, and
Nice.
we'll go with Nick next.
I also gave it a 6, and like I said, it came
Last.
after Motorbreath. It came, my least favorite on the album. But I don't remember it. It's not that I dislike it.
Yeah.
It's just lackluster was the word I would use too.
I mean, you know, we gave it a 6, and when you think of a 6 out of a 10, it's like passable, good, you know, maybe teetering into the all right, you know, they definitely made a concerted effort with this song. And
Yeah, I've definitely heard songs by them that I like less.
yes,
But,
yes. Yes,
in terms
absolutely.
of this album, which I mean, again, you know, I did not dislike any song on the album. So
when you're putting your critical thinking hat on, and you're like, all right, like how much did I really enjoy that comparatively to what I think nostalgically when I like think of Metallica or Kill 'Em All? It's like, yeah, you know, I think, man, that album kicks, man, and then I start looking at it, and we're like, well, maybe not that one. Well, maybe not that one either. Actually, this one over here is badass. Speaking of badass, Dick, what do you got to say?
It was okay. It was another non-memorable song.
Mm-hmm.
So in these songs where I don't remember them, I'm just gonna give my impression of the whole album because from what I remember this album being a lot shorter than it was. So when I pulled it up to listen to it on good old Apple Music, I was like, "There's a lot more songs here than I remember." I remember this being like 5 or 6 songs, and there's 10 here. But you can definitely hear like the punk roots in it.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I like how riffy this album is. Like there's a lot of really cool, memorable riffs. I mean, again, like for the longest time, I had only really known like the really big hits, like Hit the Lights, Whiplash, Seek and Destroy. That's all I remembered from this album. So it's really cool. It was really cool to go through it and hear some of these songs that I had never actually listened to before. So I'll give this song a 6.
Yeah, that was a good point, Dick. Like, there's definitely a good handful of the songs that I'm like, oh, I definitely know this, and I definitely like this song. And I don't know if until 2 months ago I'd ever heard "Jump in the Fire," or if that's one that I'd listened to in the past and just kind of like skipped over it to get to one that I knew a little bit better.
If I'm being real, like the only song I know by heart on this album is "Seek and Destroy," which it's a given. Like that's
Banger.
It's banger.
Yes.
Nate's got notes. Nate's got notes though. Nate, what do you got to say?
Okay, Jump in the Fire, catchy riff. The riff itself, you know, it's great. One thing I will implore you guys to go back and listen to that gave the song a little bit more panache for me, like it made me enjoy it more. Listen with headphones. I'm listening on my Zune, so it's
That's it. That's why
from the CD.
all of Nate's scores are not going to be asterisks. He listened to a Zune. It's going to be a different experience. Sorry, guys.
You have a Zune?
I have 2 working Zunes. A
Hearing
30
that
gig.
that vintage Microsoft compression.
Well, actually, a lot of these songs, you know, being direct rips from the CD have a little bit of a quality where I've never paid attention really and like closed off what I was doing, loud as I can get it without hurting my fucking deaf ears, like really immerse myself in the album. And with this album, like Jump in the Fire, catchy riff, kind of a boring song. The solo section really lacks, in my opinion, until we get to that final solo, and then they kind of turned it up to 11 and said, let's go for a blazing as fast fucking crazy solo as we can get.
That made me feel guilty when I gave it such a low rating. I'm at the end of the song. I'm like, fuck, that's a nasty solo.
Yeah, it really
just
is.
that one at the very end.
But the one thing that in my ears caught me more than anything is in the choruses. Listen to what Cliff is doing on bass. It doesn't directly follow the guitar at all, and he starts doing little sub rhythms and stuff that are so fucking cool and intricate. I was like, wow, I like this song a little bit more than I thought I did, and I was gonna only give this song a 6, much like you guys. That bumps it to a 6.5 for me when I'm writing this all out. So yeah, I think we're all still kind of very much on the same playing field and card here so far.
Right on, right on. Well, up next is Anesthesia, Pulling Teeth, the first instrumental among the group of instrumentals. This song has a writing credit of just one fella, Cliff Burton. And I think he showcases here with this song why they wanted him as their bass player. Because we have a dude who's playing lead bass with his fingers. All that distorted wah-ness is just him going nuts. And a lot of it is improvised, too. Every single time he would play the song live, like whenever he would start soloing along, it would always be just whatever he was into, whatever he was feeling at the moment. And I really dig it. I know I don't know if Dick or Nick, if you guys have had a chance to see it yet, but in S&M 2 they brought out a celloist, hooked him up to a distortion and wah-wah pedal, and he played Anesthesia
On a cello. It was
on an electric
Fucking
cello,
amazing.
and it was badass, and just such a cool moment in honoring Cliff, because Cliff was just a very special cat. And you know, and Nate, I'm really glad that you brought up that whole thing about Jump in the Fire, because it is an intricate thing that he would just do and really not get enough credit for little things that he would do. You know, he didn't play bass like everybody else played bass. He always found some different cool nuances to do. And
Well, that and just his tone in general.
yes, yeah, absolutely.
Like not a lot of bass players fiddled with their tone. I mean, a lot of bass players still don't really fiddle with their tone.
And 85% didn't ever have a distortion pedal included with their run and their rig.
Bass is extremely underrated, and as much as we joke about it, it's such a great part of the music, and the music just would not be the same if a bass player was not there.
I'm really excited to get into the next few albums because Cliff's contributions only make this band better. And his presence is felt even more so after his death because of the things that he would teach James and Lars with music theory and their writing style. And you can definitely see where things may have gone with Cliff still in the band. You know, I remember reading in an interview where they were around Master Puppet, so it was around the time that he died. And they're like, "So, what's your favorite album right now?" And he goes, "I'm really digging REM." You know, and they're like, "REM?" He goes, "Yeah, man, it's really cool. You know, I'm really digging it." And they're like, "Do you ever think Metallica will do something like that?" And he goes, "Well, not right now, because right now we're kind of busy doing our thing." And he's like, "But," he's like, "you never want to say never." It's like, you know, when we get to the moment, when we get to the time where we feel like we're comfortable enough to do something like that, maybe we will. You know, nothing about Metallica defines them into what genre they need to be in, and that was Cliff Bay. All these hardcore guys that were saying that Cliff would hated where they've gone.
Nope,
maybe not. Maybe he wouldn't have been exactly. James has said that he felt Cliff would have been an ally against the Load visual rebrand, because James hated that. He's like, I'm not into this whole like U2 gothic look that James or that Kirk and Lars are going with. He goes,
and it eventually led to like Amish James.
Yeah. Yeah. So I gave Anesthesia a 7. Nick, what do you got to say about Anesthesia?
I gave it a 7.5. It was number 4 for me in terms of my favorite songs on the album.
Yeah.
It was just sick. I wasn't ready for it. Was one of the ones that I did remember jumping back into it, but since I'd last heard it, it's been a couple years since I've listened to this album. I love it even more now than I did then. Yeah, Cliff's fucking amazing. So I loved it.
It's just a great big showcase. Literally, they just like put the spotlight on him, and they're like, "You're a badass bass player, and we want to do a song. We want to include that on the album." He's like, "Okay." So he just. I bet you he recorded that with his bell bottoms on, looking the most ungraceful, unbadass. Like he's sitting there like in a stool. Was that good, guys? They're
Not
like
a gothic cowboy.
There's James over there like jerking off. Go, "That was great, man. Just keep going, man."
about to finish. Keep going. I'm about to finish. Jump on the drums, Lars.
Oh yeah.
Dick, what do you got to say about Anesthesia?
Oh, I love this song. So this is the first time, and this is the first time I've actually listened to Metallica play it.
Okay.
I say that because the first time I ever heard it, was the second show I ever played with my old band Catacresis. We were playing at this place called the Hilltop Fortress, and I didn't know we were doing this part, but all of a sudden, I guess they told me like right day of the show, like, "Hey, we're doing Anesthesia," or our bass player is doing Anesthesia. And I'm like, I don't know what that is, but cool, I can get a break. So Miles Ehrlich, phenomenal bass player. He just starts jamming this. I think I still have this on video of him at that show playing this. And I remember I was like, holy fuck, that's such a cool song. And I didn't even know Metallica did it. I was just like, that's such a cool song. And then the rest of the band jams in. 9.
Awesome.
9.
Hell yeah. I was
that
really,
makes me feel so much better about my rating now.
I was leery to give it higher because it really is just a jam. I love it. And that's why, like, when I gave it a 7, I made sure to really give it a lot of love with my description. Whereas maybe I don't feel like this is the greatest Metallica song ever. I absolutely love it. But Nate, Mr. Notes, take it away.
You call me Mr. Notes. I love that. That's fucking awesome. Bass solo, take 1. As soon as that line hits, the little hairs that are on my arm are just straight up and down spider sense mode. Like I'm back in high school listening for the first time, you know.
Is it because you know what happened to Cliff? You're just
no,
like,
man.
okay.
Honestly, I have been a fan of his, like, you obviously know like the story of what happened to him, but musically, and Brandon can attest to this, I tried to like learn everything Cliff did on bass, even though I wasn't anywhere near his talent or ability. You know, I was pushing myself. Like I learned the first, I'd say, half of Anesthesia when I was 17 on bass. And I didn't really have any rights to be able to do that, but I pushed myself because of how much musically it hooked me. And one thing that really catches me about this song, another thing that's subtle, but in using his effects, using his wah, how his distortion is set up in the song, right before the drums come in, there's a moment where the bass is swarming you from every fucking direction. It is the most sonically like, this is the fucking bass that you could have in a song. And ultimately the world, just on this song alone, like if he did nothing else with his Metallica career, people would have always talked about Anesthesia Pulling Teeth as one of the coolest bass songs ever done. You know, your Victor Wootens and your other, you know, Geddy Lee bass players and stuff like that. Sure, this set a very special tone in the metal world for how bass can be portrayed. 9.5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, pulling that average for that song up.
It deserves it. It deserves it.
I will say we are early on with the ranking of ranking them all, and right now that song has the highest average out of all of the songs so far. And so up next is Whiplash, and I absolutely love the song. And I thought this even before I knew that this existed. And I actually played this for Nate just the other day. To me, this was their ode to Motorhead. If you listen to it, it's like Motorhead does a cover of this song, by the way, and it sounds like it was just their song the entire time. like
is it true they actually won a Grammy for it too?
Motorhead did win a Grammy for their performance of Whiplash.
Grammys have a tendency to give awards to covers.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
Tenacious D recently, didn't they?
Who did?
Tenacious D won a cover.
Oh, for the Last in Line.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yes, and
awesome cover.
Yeah, I love that cover.
I think Killswitch got a Grammy a Grammy nomination for Holy Diver.
Yeah,
if I remember right.
Also a great cover. Ironically, also a Dio song. But Whiplash, absolutely love the song. It's a great song live. This was their live mosh song, like early in the days. It's like, all right, everybody, you guys ready to let fucking loose? And they would just play this song as loud and as fast as they could. And literally the whole song is like talking about just banging your head against the stage. Like basically the song is about head banging and being at a show. I gave it an 8 out of 10 because I really feel like I felt like Whiplash was a high point on the album for sure. Dick, what do you got to say?
It's a really cool thrashy song. I'm gonna have to give it a 7.5. Now I got it's just a really cool thrashy song.
Nate,
It was cool to work out to. I remember much.
This song is a tribal headbanger. It has a lot of like really cool like tribal vibes to the metal of it. I wrote in my notes it's meta metal because it's a song talking about being in metal while you're hearing the metal that you're being at. It's very intricate, and then to top it off, they even throw their Metallica within the meta metalness. So they're meta metal Metallica, which is a lot to take in.
Stroke.
The song is about how the music rips through you. Kirk shreds on the guitar, even though it's a Mustaine built riff. Yeah, a 9, easy. It's way up there for me. I really love this song.
Nick,
I'm gonna bring that average down. I give it 6.75. Yeah, it was a banger. But it just I made a note specifically next to this song that I'm rating these songs on a scale of Metallica. You know, like
sure.
it's not like on a scale like all music that I listen to. It's you know the absolute best Metallica and and the one I don't like as much. And I just know I'm like, man, if I give all these songs high ratings, then it's not going to matter as much for the ones that I really, really do like and that I really want to stick out. It came at 7 out of 10 for me on the album. Good song, banger. But I'm not. Yeah, it wasn't my favorite on the album.
all right. Well, Whiplash, I forgot to say, has a writing credit for James and Lars. The next song, Phantom Lord, Dave Mustaine, Lars and James. This song was, again, one of the earlier songs on the album. And we'll start with Nate. Nate, what do you got to say about Phantom Lord?
Musically, it's very sound. I like the riffs and the music that they do. Lyrically, it is probably the most boring song they have on this album. I find nothing to connect to in The Phantom Lord. You know, I will say it's a slow jam. The slow jam bit in the like towards the end makes the song cool, but the big rock ending is different from anything they do. This song is just like a 7 for me. It's good. It's not their best work. Yeah, that's all I had. It's just Phantom Lord.
This song was a 6 for me.
Phantom Lord.
This song was a 6 for me until that middle part where it brought it down and it actually changed their tempo and they started with the clean picking, and it just gave the song a little bit more depth, because like literally up to that point I'm like, yeah, this is a 6, because I'll just, even though I gave Jump on the Fire a 6, this is a song I always usually skip when I go back if it comes up on shuffle or if I'm just going through some stuff. Like Phantom Lord is never one that has ever stuck out to me on this album as being really strong. So
did you notice though too, real quick before we get everybody else's thoughts, did you notice how you said Mustaine has a part in this? He used this riff later in his career too, that slow jam. Somehow, like, I don't know exactly where I've heard him use it, but it's in another song like Absolution or something. There's that clean picking and it's identical to Phantom Lord. Anyways.
Nick, what do you guys say, man?
I liked it. I couldn't tell you particularly. Definitely, I liked the transition in the middle of it. And I think that's what kind of hooked me. I gave it a 7. It was decent. It was not one that I'd ever had in past listenings. It never stuck out to me, and something about more recently, I liked it a little more now. So, I'll give it a 7.
Right,
Mr. Tyner.
So I remember when I initially listened to this, and this is the first time I've ever listened to this song. So when my initial listen, I remember like really digging it. Like I wasn't trying to pay too much attention to the lyrics and stuff. I dug the vocals. I dug how everything gelled together. And I remember thinking, like, aside from Seek and Destroy, this is probably my favorite song on the album. It just sounded so cool. I remember wanting to rank it really high, but like I don't want to. Now that I'm like thinking about it. It's like, is this my favorite song? Do I want to rank this high? Everybody else is ranking it pretty low.
Nah, go with your gut, man. Go with your gut. Whatever you feel.
But I'll give it a 9.
All right. That's the thing, you know. I actually felt a little like weird. I'm like, man, I only gave Hit the Lights a 7. Like
Well,
maybe,
that's why I was like, I gave.
I was thinking. I was kind of
saying
thinking maybe I should give it, maybe I should give it an 8. I don't know. And then everyone's like 7. I'm like, all right then. I feel all right. I'm right there.
I'm feeling better about my decision.
All right, no, dude, 9's awesome. The thing is that there are going to be songs where there's going to be a song where one of us finds something in there that said yes, that the rest of us are going to be like, I don't feel that, and that may be this next one. No Remorse. No Remorse comes at us with only Hetfield and Ulrich with writing credit. And I feel like No Remorse is kind of a dark horse. No pun intended or no rhyme intended for that on this album. No Remorse is awesome. It's got a great riff. It's got a great, it's just tempo all the way through. It keeps going and keeps trucking. It almost feels like this could almost be the Four Horsemen esque, like as far as like the Four Horsemen like has that little chugga. It's almost like you're on like a little metal train. You just keep moving along. No Remorse does that for me a little bit, but not as well. I gave it an 8. It's definitely one when I think about Kill 'Em All. This is like, it might not be first or second, but it's definitely debated for like third or fourth. Like No Remorse is an awesome song, and and they don't play it often enough. Nick, what do you guys say?
I gave it a 6.5. It didn't particularly stick out to me. Again, I'm only giving it a couple listen through nows. But yeah, it came down pretty low on my list. Not one that really stuck out to me. I got No Remorse staying.
No Remorse. Dick, how about you? Do you also have No Remorse for this song?
I have no recollection. No recollection. No.
They've hurt.
I don't remember the song at all, to be honest, and I think that the issue is I listened to this all while working out, and I was trying to listen to it. I was trying to get my thoughts about all these songs, but I was just so enthralled by how much more I like it now than I did back then.
Sure.
So it ended up becoming a lot harder to.
Also a lot of the songs have the same kind of tone.
Yeah.
And they're almost, other than maybe a few slight variances, they almost all have the same kind of tempo. So when you're going into out of songs, this album makes it very easy to get lost into a song and not realize that you've necessarily changed songs.
That absolutely happened several times.
By the
Where
time
I'd be looking down to try to take a note to myself and be like, all right, let me try to remember exactly which one this is. And it's like,
yeah.
Now, see, I thought this was the other song.
By the time I got to this point,
I took notes.
Yeah. By the time I got to the point in the album, I was like, I had already kind of zoned out by this point, I think. And I was just more focusing on just, jamming some songs. So I'll stick it with a 7. Keeping it average, I guess.
Nate, with your notes, what do the notes say?
Solo in the intro is mad flex. Like the solo intro, like they just come like not like, hey, let's pussyfoot around it. They just wow shred into it like fuck your face up, and you're like, oh wow, this is they're here to take over. War without end, like it's so good. I will say an interesting thing happened again, listening with headphones, listening through the Zune, really just immersing myself. They put reverb on the guitar. And the reverb threw me so far off, it changed the quality of the sound of the riff to me. And like, go back and listen. If you really pay attention, the reverb that's happening is playing after they're done playing as they're playing. So it creates this weird, almost like kickback of their own sound they didn't mean to get, because again, low quality, not spent on a lot of money, not really refining things and going, that is, a really big deal. We need to get rid of that sound. They just left it. Ultimately, this song is an 8.25 for me, but I also put the maiden bit post solo is what did I write here? Stellar. Stellar is the word I wrote.
Stellar.
That's a good word.
ultra thrash end with flaming drums.
Did you
That's
put-
my opinion of No Remorse?
You did 8.25?
Yes, sir.
8.25. Up next is the song that everybody knows from this album. The song that is pretty much become a staple for the band. Seek and Destroy. It's already been mentioned that this song is banger territory.
100% certified fresh banger.
All right, Nick. So how banger is this song?
This is my favorite. Shocking, I'm sure. I give it an 8.5. It's one you rock your head to.
Mm-hmm.
It's one that it was one of my favorite when I saw him live. We've got fucking, I feel like half the local bands around here have covered it. So it's one of my favorites. One of my favorite Metallica songs ever. So,
Dick?
Yeah, it's without okay, so there's the favorite of the album, and then there's like the obvious favorite. Like you can't even say it's your favorite because it's just so fucking obvious. This is the obvious favorite of the album for me, and I give it a 10. You know,
Wow.
this song fucking jams.
The first 10 of the entire Rank 'Em All series.
Well, I mean, if we really want to get specific, it's going to be like 9.97.
You know what? Might as well.
Oh.
We've already made it.
we're going down that hard. Can we keep it to 0.25s, please?
I was like shocked that you guys were giving like 0.75, 0.25. I'm like, what? Just give it a solid.
Well, yeah, to be fair, I did all of mine with solids. But
Yeah,
but it's
solid
cool.
or a
It's
0.5.
cool.
But no, whatever. I don't
Use
care.
us.
It's funny.
No,
It's funny.
this album is pretty fucking killer, but this song, I said earlier that you're gonna hear me say live version is better. Nick said that he loves the song live. I do too. And I feel like that's the only reason why I didn't give it a 10 here is because some of that energy is just missing from the studio version. It's like this song, well, I mean, it's just as I was being critical and I'm like, all right, what? Because as I started like ending, I saw it. I literally when we were getting ready to do a podcast back here one day, I had my vinyl on, which I've got right over here, and I just had it on, and I'm rolling through, and I'm like, I haven't given it a 10 yet. Maybe Seek and Destroy will be the first 10, and it just got to a point where I'm like, I think the live version may be that much better. Okay, 9. So I'm, as a huge diehard fan, I'm actually being really strict with myself. So then I'm like, all right, what is the first 10 then for Metallica? And we'll find out maybe.
Yeah.
But
no, what I love about Seek and Destroy is like it's one of those songs that like if you're a band and you're playing a local show or something, you know, like Nick said, a lot of bands around here have covered it.
oh yeah.
Even if like the crowd isn't reacting much to any of your music, if you play Seek and Destroy, you own the room. From my experience around here, like I have seen bands that have like completely flopped, and then they pull out Seek and Destroy, and it's like, fuck yeah! It's like Freebird for metal.
Next for life.
Metal Freebird. Yeah, writing credits are James and Lars. I didn't say that, but last but not least here, Nate. Nate, what do the epic notes say about Seek and Destroy?
Easily the most memorable riff on the album.
Oh
right?
yes.
I mean, hands down. Okay, that
Probably
undisputable.
arguably, like other than maybe a few other Metallica riffs,
maybe their most all time.
it might be top 5 for some of the most memorable.
This is another one of those songs. It's more jam, less thrash. The thrash is there, but they're more jamming. They're more vibing. They went and they probably had they smoked a J before they got into recording, and they slowed down just a little bit. That's why it's not album or it's not live thrashiness like you like. You know, it's a little bit kicked back. Pay attention to Cliff's bass effects throughout the song. They are changing, and I mean, he's using phasers. He's using the distortion. He's obviously using the wah, and it's not huge long stretches. They're in and out. Ba, ba, ba. Use it here sparingly. It's very clever. The solo trade-offs after the second chorus, I think it is flawlessly executed, where they're just back and forth trading the solo, going through it. The outro jam is groovy, has a nice attack, you know. And ultimately, at the end, I wrote, this anthem describes not only this album, but the entirety of Metallica's career. They are searching to seek and destroy. and they've done a great job of that. 9.75, easily the highest on the album for me.
I went to go type that and was just like, really? That's what we're doing. All right, 9.75. That leads us to the closer of the album, Metal Militia. Dick, we'll start with you to see. Do you even remember this one?
9.8. Nah, I'll give it a 6.5. It wasn't a memorable song, and I'm not even attributing that to my lack of notes or trying to remember. It's just I wasn't into it. I remember it coming up and being like, "Oh, Metal Militia," and I remember hearing the fucking James chanting it, and I was like, I'm not into this. So 6.5.
I was riding the high from Seek and Destroy because that's what comes right after it, right?
Yeah.
And it ended up number 5 out of 10 for me on the album. I gave it a 7.
Right on.
Nice.
Right on. Nate?
Heavy and fast, in your face intro. Another anthem for the band. They kind of put their anthems right back to back with each other. This is just a different kind of anthem. More foot on the gas as opposed to your Search and Seek and Destroy. Again, Cliff knows where to shine. Listen through that. You'll hear different moments where he really picks his moments to take the bass to 11, even if most bass players only know how to take it to like a 3.5. But the song is just okay for me, and that's where the ranking comes in. It's only a 7.25 for me. 7.25 is my rating.
All right. I gave it a 7 as well. This song, ironically, was one of the first songs I tried to learn on guitar. I quickly switched and tried to start learning Smoke on the Water.
It was the first song.
I was like, I just remember like the that riff is really cool.
The whole album has a lot of really cool riffs.
Oh, absolutely. And
cool, memorable, fun riffs.
Metal Militia, I forgot to say, Lars, James, and Dave Mustaine have writing credits. So this is one of the other Mustaine. So the Mustaine songs, Four Horsemen, Jump in the Fire, Phantom Lord, and Metal Militia. Out of those, there's only one of them that we really ranked favorably, and that was Four Horsemen. So maybe we'll see where this goes when we start diving into the Mustaine band, the mega shit,
yeah.
as Dick liked to call them. But
Mega shit.
I don't think it's any surprise what is the highest overall song average.
Seek and Destroy.
Seek and Destroy at a 9.3.
Ooh.
The lowest on the entire album. Scanning that real
Motorbreath?
quick. No, it was Jump in the Fire at 6.1. 6.1. So the overall, so my album rank was 7.5. Nate's was an 8. Dick, 7.65. And Nick's was a 7 with an overall average of 7.575.
5.75.
We said we were going to be specific in this rank.
Yeah. So
But I think that's a fair ranking.
no, I do
honestly.
too. You know what? Like, when I ranked it at a 7.5, like when it came out to that, I was like, you know what? I don't know. Was I a little bit too harsh on some of these songs? And as I would continue on ranking, I don't think that I was. When we get into the next albums, I think these songs, where I rank them in my list, fit pretty along the lines with where I kind of think the band was heading. And we can definitely see that as we go along here. But Kill 'Em All has been officially ranked. As we said, the master ranking for the album is 7.575. Going forward, we're going to hit Ride the Lightning next. Thank you guys so much for joining me for this debut episode of Rank 'Em All. Nate has one other thing.
Did we have any final thoughts? Because I actually have final thought notes.
Okay, so Nate's got final thought notes.
Sorry. I just have one last thing to say that I think is important to riff on my. sorry, guys.
Trying to wrap this up. We're going to do another one of these here.
This is a great debut for Metallica.
Yeah,
all the numbers shining throughout. While lyrically, they don't yet capture the bigger themes. They find a fun way to keep the listener guessing. The riffs are there and timeless. Still one of my favorites. That's my final thoughts.
I concur.
Yes.
Awesome.
I'm kidding you, Nate. No, thank you for having some closing notes. I think the album kills. I mean, no pun intended. I think it's a pretty killer album. It really shows where they started, because when you go back and listen to this, you know, some people can't handle that production change, especially like Nate. Black Album was my first taste of an actual album from Metallica. That album cost them $2 million to make, comparative to whatever this cost them, which I don't know how much Kill 'Em All costs, but we do know how much Ride of Lightning costs, and we'll talk about that when we get there. But
I think that was what kind of killed it for me back in the day when I listened to this, because I was coming off of Death Magnetic. I was
Sure.
coming off of Black Album and listening to those two albums, and then I go to Kill 'Em All because it's huge. Everybody, all my friends love this album. Let's check it out. Oh, but things have changed.
Nick, you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, it feels like exactly what you would expect the first Metallica album to start with.
Yeah.
Black Album was my first, and then I went to Master, and the production quality is something you need to get over.
Yeah.
But I think that they made it very clear throughout all 10 songs what you could expect from them in the years to come.
Kill 'Em All, according to this data here, because certifiable platinum 3 times in the United States. Over 3 million copies of Kill 'Em All sold in this country here. And so, and I assume you add that with the other numbers across the world. I'm not sure if there's a Metallica album that hasn't sold 1 million. Even Lulu has probably sold 1 million.
We don't talk
We've
about
been
that.
there.
And we're not ranking Lulu. Lulu's not involved with the ranking. But guys, thank you so much for joining us here on the very first Rank 'Em All for Kill 'Em All. We're going to go down the line once again. We have Nick Maxon, the duder of dudes, the maestro of doom,
Dude Master Supreme.
Dude Master Supreme. Of course, he hosts Brews with Dudes as well as Dungeons with Dudes that you can find on the Journey into Comics network. Also, Dick, Blaine, Dr. Dongo, Tyner, Fernando. He hosts Podcastrophe. He is here. We're ranking with us as well. And, of course, the Podfather, Nate Phillips.
Thank you guys so much for having me on. This has been a great first episode. I loved it.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're going to be hitting Ride the Lightning next. Of course, I have been Brando. And we are going to catch you on the next episode. Until next time, we have been the panel, and we will see you then. Later on, guys.
Yeah.
Later.